Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 3 review, and this episode is called Ouroboros. I don't think that's how you say that word, but it's in the title, so just look at the title. Um, yeah, pretty much just look at the title. And this episode um, came out on April 24th, 2016, and yeah, I'm just going to start off by talking about the episode. I'm not going to go through it in order. I'm going to kind of take my time with it and do the ups and downs like I normally do, and then the thumbs in the middle. So let's start off by talking about this episode. So the episode didn't kick off this way, but I'm just going to start off by talking about it like this first, just because I just think it would be fitted. So the episode, so pretty much they show the aftermath of the last episode when Travis and Madison are sitting in their room, and you can kind of see that Travis is kind of a little bit haunted about what happened. You can kind of see too that Travis and Madison are kind of, um, you know, starting to transition into the zombie apocalyptic type world. So I kind of like that. And then something goes wrong with the boat. We have this big bump go down, and pretty much something's clogging the boat. Now, I really don't know what's going on because I'm not really much of a boat guy. I don't really know, but pretty much something's clogging the engine, and it prevents it from going. They can still float, but they can't manually move the boat themselves. So what happens is Travis goes underneath and tries to see what is causing this problem. And pretty much what happens is one of the infected gets clogged right into the boat. I believe it was like the engine, so it's causing the boat not to run as well. And Travis has to fix it. And I like this scene a lot because Strand was being a huge dick to Travis, telling him to fix the boat. And Travis was telling him that he only has a certain amount of time to do it. He only has a day or so. And he says, "We don't have a day because Strand wants to get to Mexico within the next few days. Well, either that night. So Travis and Strand get into a face-to-face altercation, and Travis apologizes but does it sarcastically and tells him to fix the boat. Um, and then, so I like the scene that happened in the beginning with Travis and Strand. I thought that was good. I'm going to give it an up. And then what happens is Alicia sees this island that has suitcases just hanging out everywhere and pretty much see that they can get supplies. One thing we find out is that Ophelia needs more antibiotics because she doesn't have any anymore because she ran out. And um, she's about to ask Madison for some, and Daniel says that it should just remain a family matter because um, Travis, because family should come first. If Madison had to pick between her kids and her, she would pick family. So she just wants this to remain a family matter. I actually kind of like the storyline. You can kind of see that Ophelia and Daniel are starting to kind of not really see eye to eye. I like it. It's getting enough. It's gonna get it up. And yeah, pretty much that kind of ties in. So the kids all want to go on that island and get the supplies that they need. Madison and Travis are against it, and obviously Strand's against it, but they eventually decide to let them go with Daniel's supervision, adult supervision. And then what happens is Madison's kind of telling them the type of clothes they should be wearing, that they should bring sweatshirts because they think they're going to San Diego. It's going to get cold in the water and stuff like that. But then Daniel reveals that they're going to instantly drop saying that it's going to be pretty hot in Mexico. And Madison gets confused about this. And Daniel pretty much tells Madison Strand's plan that all along he's been planning to go to Mexico. So he wants Madison to confront him about it because he thinks if he does, it's going to turn into a dictatorship type of thing, and it's not going to end well. So then the gang takes off. Daniel, Chris, and the Cloak kids take off to the island. Now, obviously, the next two storylines take place separately from each other. So I'm just going to kind of talk about each storyline um, all at once, so that way it doesn't get um, you know they, so that way this video doesn't get sloppy. So I'm just going to cover everything that took place on the boat. Um, Madison confronts Strand about him going to Mexico. Strand's upset that Madison doesn't trust him, and that after he ended up saving Nick from being imprisoned by the military in the first season, but then Madison reveals, that. But then Madison's like, well, yeah, but we saved you. Um, and Strand then reveals that the reason he's going to Mexico is he's not really going to Mexico itself. He's going to, and I have the name of the um, the name, not of the country, but of the town. He's going to Bejois. I think that's how you say that. It might not be, but Bejois, California. Which California and Mexico are like, I think, right next to each other. So that's why he has a map of Mexico. And he reveals that he has like this huge safe house there that would have enough food, supplies, a wall, everything. And Madison's not really too sure about this. She's not too sure it's there, but Strand's pretty sure about it. So Madison's like, so what? You're just gonna abandon us? Um, and Strand says, I'm not gonna abandon 7 people at once. It would be way too obvious. So Madison wants and then Strand says that's why we can't have people. People are a hindrance, family, strangers, anything. So then Madison wants Strand to take them to take them with him, and Strand agrees to do it, and they agree to kind of help each other out. And then Madison says, threatens Strand, threatens to throw Stan overboard if they do anything bad to their kids. And then Strand doesn't really get threatened by this. He's like, you won't kill, you wouldn't kill you wouldn't, you're not a murderer. I almost said you wouldn't kill your family, but he says you're not a murderer. So I like this scene a lot. I like the Madison Strand scene. I thought that was very well done, getting it up. So then what happens is Madison tells Travis about this, and Travis isn't very happy because he doesn't really know what he's going into, and Travis wants to have some type of idea. He wants some way to survive, and Travis and Madison are kind of getting into an altercation, and they're not really agreeing of what they want to do going forward. I like this scene a lot, getting it up, and I liked it. And it was more symbolic because it really wasn't like where we're going is imposed in Mexico, but if they were on the same page or not. So I liked that scene a lot. And then we get to the what's going on the island with Daniel and the kids. So pretty much what happens is, I guess the best way to explain this is to kind of talk about. So pretty much last week, last week tomorrow, I did the review of Fear the Walking Dead, Flight 464 or something like that, and pretty much this episode was kind of the aftermath of that. It showed what happened to the surviving people. So we saw Alex. Let me actually see if I can find the flight, so that way I can get the cast, so that way I can remember who was there. Where is it? So yeah, we see Madison. So we see Alec. Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. I think I have. Okay. Okay. So we see Alex, Jake, and I forget his name, but the guy that was the cop on the plane. I'm just gonna look up his name real quick. I'm just checking real quick. Hold on. His name's Anthony. I forgot. And then somebody else that was on the plane. I just had to make sure I got the names. I might have it wrong, but I think it's. I believe. Um, yeah, it's definitely Anthony. Um, yeah. Um, and this was after the aftermath of them actually jumping out of the plane and stuff, and not many people made it. What happens is Alex ends up making it, and some people have turned into walkers. I thought it was pretty cool to see like a walker after they jumped out of a plane. I thought that was really cool. And what happens is she pulls out Jake, and we see that his face is burnt. We don't really know how his face got burnt. I guess it was just from the impact of the jump. Um, or he must have hit something on the way down. Cause and they all get on a raft. One of the survivors gets pulled off the raft into the water. At first we see him fall out. We didn't know exactly what happened, but then we find out that he got pulled via a walker. I'm sorry, the infected, and um, then we have We have Alex, Jake, Anthony, and one of the other survivors from the plane crash, and um, Alex doesn't want to. Pretty much, Jake is dying, and Alex doesn't want to put him down because he feels bad that she took his mother's flight, and he wants to make it up to him. So she does everything she can to try to save him and keep him alive. And Anthony, while they're sleeping, tries to put him down, but Alex kills him. And then one of the other survivors tries to convince Alex to put him down, saying that all he's doing is suffering. And Jake um, then tells Alex that it's okay. And then the scene kind of ends off there. We don't really know what happened to Alex or Jake at the end of the episode. I like this. The opening. This was the opening of this episode. I kind of like that they showed this. I'll give it a thumbs in the middle because what I didn't like about it. Now, obviously, I'm watching this not knowing is pretty much if you didn't watch the Flight 469 episode. Let me make sure I have the name. No, 462. So pretty much if you didn't watch the Flight 462 episode, you don't really know what happened. You don't really know anything about these characters, and yeah, it's just really not that good. Now, obviously, so that's why I'm gonna give it a thumbs in the middle. Um, but since I did, I'll give it an up, a personal up, but I'll give it a thumbs in the middle if you didn't watch it. So then what happens is when Daniel and the rest of the kids get on the island. This is pretty much, I think, what everybody had known. Why all these suitcases and stuff on the ground was from this plane crash, and um, Daniel tells everybody to stay where he can see them. And of course, when somebody says that in a TV show, you know instantly someone's going to end up going separated from the group, and that's what happened. Chris walks away, and I want to talk about though. I'm going to give a mini up, which is just pretty much an up to the altercation, to the not really the altercation, but to the dialogue that Alicia and Nick had. I like the dialogue where Alicia was telling Nick that before the world went to shit, I never really saw much of you. I kind of like that because it kind of shows that even though we're living in a zombie apocalypse, it can lead to families being closer. And then Chris ends up going off, separated from the group, and he finds the plane from that episode that crashed, and he goes in there, and you can see that Chris is kind of starting to break from this zombie apocalypse world. He sees the infected. I thought it was really cool to see the infected. One of them strapped with the oxygen thing on him that you have to breathe through when the plane's about to crash and stuff. I thought that looked really cool. And Chris mocks it, saying that it can't kill him because he because saying that it can't bite him because it has that in its mouth, and Chris murders it with some sort of equipment from the plane, and um, then Chris sees one of the another one that we were supposed to have thought wasn't infected, but then we found out was still alive, and Chris and he asks Chris for help, and Chris tries to help him, not knowing what he was talking about, and then when he rips him off the seat, we found out that he had been bitten right in the back. Um, so Chris realizes he has to put him down, and that's exactly what he does. He beats him repeatedly with the equipment from the airplane and kills him. He doesn't kill him. He doesn't do it in time though, to the point where he doesn't turn. He ends up turning in the end, but then he eventually ends up putting him down. And I like this scene a lot because so I'm gonna give this scene an up. I like this scene a lot because this kind of put Chris in his father's shoes, showing that his father didn't want to kill his mother. He didn't have much of a choice, and Chris was kind of put in the same shoes. So now maybe Chris will forgive his father for killing his mother. I like this a lot. I thought it was great. Um, and then the next thing that happens is Daniel and Nick have a conversation, and Daniel was trying to find antibiotics for Ophelia, but then Nick tells him that stuff isn't going to work, and when Daniel realizes that Chris isn't there, he goes and tries to find him, and then Daniel and Nick and Alicia get into their own storylines, so I'll kind of break it apart. So Daniel's looking for Chris, and he sees somebody running, thinking that it's Chris, but then we find out it's not Chris. It was Alex. She ended up making it to shore, and we find out that she's running away from a herd of the infected. So Daniel has a gun, and he shoots at them, and they end up running away. And as this is happening, Nick and Alicia kind of do their own thing. Alicia wants to go help Daniel look for Chris, and Alicia ends up finding Chris, and Alicia asks Chris if she ended up killing one of the infected, and Chris kind of lies, saying that he did, but we see that Chris is kind of starting to lose it a little bit, and then what happens is Nick and Alicia end up meeting with Alex and Daniel, and they do everything they can to try to kill the infected. Alicia grabs a stick. Chris has this airplane equipment, and Daniel has his gun, and he ends up running out of bullets, so he just ends up using it as a weapon. And then eventually, what happens is they are about to get on the raft, the life raft, to escape. But then they realize that Nick isn't there. What ended up happening with Nick, it was when he got separated from the group. There was a hole that had been dug within the island, and he ends up falling into it, and he sees that there's somebody from the infected in there that has crabs all around him, and it actually ended up eating the crabs, which I thought was really cool. And he falls in there, and the infected's about to bite him, but then Chris ends up stabbing it with a knife, and then we don't really know what happened with with Nick. So when everybody's trying to kill the infected so they can get to Chris, so they can get to Nick, Nick pops up and kills another one with the knife, and everybody runs away, and Chris is covered in the blood of the infected. And he starts running away, but then realizes that the infected isn't attacking him. And I like this because now Now Nick has figured out that if you cover yourself with the infected's like blood and their insides, they won't attack you. They'll think you're one of them. And I like this because this is kind of something we have seen in The Walking Dead. Usually if you cover stuff in walker guts or something like that, they usually think that you're part of the walkers. So I kind of like this a lot. And they end up leaving the place. And Madison at the time was kind of kept checking in on the kids. And when she had seen this happen, um, um, she tried to get the boat to get going again, and Travis ends up killing one of the infected. There was a scene where one of the infected that Travis had seen in the boat was from this flight, and Travis went under, and then when Madison saw that one pop up, um, she got worried, and Travis ended up coming up, and um, eventually everybody makes it back, but they're not alone. They're with somebody else. We found out that Alex ended up keeping Jake alive, and Alicia tries to convince everybody to let them stay on board. But nobody wants to do that because Madison reveals that Strand has a house in um, in Beja, California, Mexico, and um, they don't want to take a risk of taking any more survivors. And obviously Alicia's upset about this, but Travis finally agrees with Madison. He agrees to go with her to Beja, California, and which was actually a huge moment right there. So I like that. Yeah, that we're getting up, and all the stuff that took place with Daniel and everything on the island, that we're getting up as well. And Travis reveals, but Travis says that he'll give them, they'll tow them all the way to San Diego and give them food and supplies and stuff like that. And the episode's kind of started to end, and Alex and Jake start to tell Jake that this is just going to be as worse as it's going to get. That it will end up getting better soon. And Nick goes to talk to Ophelia and gives her the antibiotics she needs. And then eventually Madison is upset that she kind of had to. Alicia's upset with Madison that she didn't try to help her more, and Madison's a little bit conflicted about it. And what happens is Strand pops up and cuts the rope that is connected to the raft with Alex and Jake on it, and pretty much leaves them hanging. And then that was the end of the episode. Madison looks at him really pissed. And I like the ending of the episode. I like the ending of the episode because it's making those type of decisions that you have to make in those zombie apocalypse world where you have to kind of look for yourself and you really can't help anybody else. So I kind of like that a lot. I like this. And I like this episode. I am gonna give one down, and the down is this really all we're gonna see from the Flight 462 game, because that's kind of weak, considering the fact that they dedicated like a whole web series to it, and then you just blow it off within literally one episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I don't like it, so for now that's gonna get it down. But I will retract this down if they come back in future episodes. And that's pretty much the end of this episode. I thought this episode was really good. I thought it was probably the best episode of the season so far. And if this is like the best episode of the season, hopefully this means that this season gets better. But I thought it was a nice episode. We got to see some zombie fights and people kill zombies. I thought that was nice. I like the storyline they did with Chris on this episode. I liked that we had the Flight 462 episode back, and I liked the altercation with Madison and Strand, and and I even liked those life choices that they had to make at the end of the episode. So I like this episode. I thought it was really good. If I had to rate this episode, I'm gonna give it a B. It was a really good episode. Really enjoyed it. But that's pretty much the end of this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so that way people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time you upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers and No One the Talking Native YouTube channel. This is the only Talking Native YouTube channel. It's just I messed up. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel. That's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.